Is there any way that you could quickly summarize your leadership strategy for us? What's sort of the high level approach you take?
Absolutely. My leadership strategy is to put people first, right? My job here is hire amazing talent and give them the resources that they need and the autonomy that they need and let them do the best work of their lives.
Was there an experience or a moment that really helped make that clear for you? In that like people first and then invest in them is the most important thing that you should do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's been the case for a long time in different companies, but even more so at Atlassian. First, let me tell you why that is, and then I'll give you a specific example. Right. So it's first of all important to create an open and transparent culture because you can only have autonomous teams if you have an awesome engineering culture. So uh, you all have heard culture eats strategy for breakfast. So I make it bigger by saying culture eats strategy for breakfast, technology for lunch, and process for dinner. So it's all about the culture, right? And culture is made up of people and how they behave. uh, the thing that as leaders, the thing that we need to do is to figure out how we can have a closed loop system where you have constant learning. What you really want is to be able to have a culture, processes, and strategy that helps you to be able to acknowledge failures and learn from it. That's why this open, transparent culture is extremely important to be able to create these autonomous teams. I need to describe the story on what happened and how we handled it because it played over a certain period. So, this was about 3 years ago, and we had finished a major project called Vertigo. I won't go into the details right now, but we had finished a major project called Vertigo. We had moved to cloud, and after that, for a year, we had started developing features on this new uh, cloud platform. And 3 years ago, our Sev 1, Sev 2 incidents started going up, like creeping up, and it was not good enough for us as a company, especially for our customers. Incidents are really bad. Like it's hard on customer or hard on people internally, but even worse with customers, right? So you don't want to have incidents. But it's a gray zone, right? You are having one incident per week, maybe, or maybe once a month, and then it creeps down to 3 weeks. Then it comes to 2 weeks. So there needs to be a moment where you have to figure out, oh wow, that's not good enough. So what happened 3 years ago was we had this uptick in Sev 1, Sev 2 incidents, and we called a 5 alarm fire. And in fact, when we called the 5 alarm fire, we knew something was wrong and we had to fix it, but we really didn't know exactly all the things we needed to do. Right? But it was a moment, as the saying goes, never waste a crisis, right? Because you can do things that you can't do uh, in status quo mode. So what we did was we went back and we did a number of things to be able to set us up for the long term better trajectory in terms of things. And all the things that we did, and I'll describe you a number of things that we went through, would only be possible if, and if we could create an open transparent culture. And also, I guess the process that we chose led to autonomous teams, right? And I'll go through. So there are a number of things that we did. The very first thing that we did was we had to define the priority, right? It's extremely important for the teams to understand there's always 10 things coming to the teams, and they need to know, oh, there's like 10 things. Which one is higher priority? So the first thing we did was to clarify the priority for teams. And we said security is number one, reliability is number two, and then everything else. And every single person in the organization knew this, including not just in engineering, right? It's important to have everybody in the company bought in, right? When you think about a technology company, literally the whole company needs to be aligned with the priority order. So if you had asked the executive team or marketing team, they would have all said for the technology side of the house, it's security number one, reliability number two, and everything else after that. So that was important. So we defined the priority. Second, was to go back and figure out the process changes. So we did number of process changes, and the process changes, we didn't want to have processes that are mandated top down. This is what you need to do, and otherwise you get fired, right? That's a bad way to approach a problem. What we did was we wanted each team to disclose themselves and to be able to self-correct themselves. So we started these tech ops meetings that happen in every team, every service that runs, and each of those services, they meet Thursday, Friday, whenever they have, and they all discuss what went wrong, what incidents, how do they improve, what are the SLOs, are they trending towards it. So there's a specific focus on reliability in those tech ops meetings, and we made that a cultural thing across the board, that it's the right thing to do. And we also have a aggregate tech ops meeting, we call it World, and the goal for that was learning, right? It was to learn uh, between different teams. And we also encourage teams that if they had an incident and they learned from the postmortem, to be able to blog. And we use, of course, at Atlassian, we use all our tools. So Confluence works extremely well. So we blog every single learning across the board. And that's been huge for us to go from, we were an on-prem company before I started, and we had to go, you build it, you run it model, to microservices and cloud native platform. Having this Confluence as a blogging platform and having an open culture has been amazing, right? So today, if you zoom forward, the 5 alarm fire has morphed itself into a, we call it the X alarm fire, which is like every team, if they see that they get into this gray zone where the SLOs are not trending at the right direction and they're not hitting the goal, they're hitting the goals, but they really want to be better, they themselves declare a 2 alarm fire or a 3 alarm fire, pause feature development for a week or two, and then work on these improvements where they can reduce the debt, and then they continue with their feature set. And that's not something that's top down, right? So that's each team's doing it themselves, and that's been pretty awesome to scale up the organization.